In today's conversation, we are going to talk about the classic movie montage and why your montage impacts your future. Let's get into it. Welcome into the Bears and Lions podcast. I am your host, Kyle Vaught, and this is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past. Because yes, we've gone through some tough times. Yes, we've probably gone through traumatic things. And yes, there are things in our past that probably we don't need to bring with us. We can let go and let them stay there. But I guarantee if we accurately look at our past, we're going to find things that we actually accomplished, that we can learn from, that we can show up and see, oh, I was consistent here. I really showed up here, and it prepares you to step into your future. And that is our goal, of course, with this podcast. It's to step into the future with each other. And that's what we're going to do. So let's step into it right now. We're going to talk about the classic movie montage. Now, as soon as I said that, I guarantee you probably immediately thought of a movie. You thought of a scene. You thought of something where it was like, okay, I know exactly what movie he's talking about. And you probably don't. My classic movie montage is actually my favorite, is from the movie Hot Rod, where Andy Samberg is training to be the best stuntman ever. And he's just basically, they're montaging all the stunts that he does. At one point, he's got like a mattress tied to him or duct taped to him, and he gets hit with a fridge. I mean, it's just like the most ridiculous stuff ever. And he's in the middle of like the woods smoking a cigarette. It's the dumbest thing, right? But you can also go to like montages of like Rocky, right? In Rocky 1, he's punching the meat at the butcher, and he's running and training to fight Apollo Creed. So of course, there are tons and tons and tons of montages that you can think about. But why are they in movies? Why are they in TV shows? Why are montages even a thing? And it's because if you actually were going to follow that montage all the way through, it's usually a passing of time, right? They're trying to show in an hour and a half movie, they're trying to show in 30, 40 seconds, or maybe a minute, what happens over the course of 3 months or even a year, right? It's a montage of all the highlights of, we just want to show that there's a consistent growth, that there's something that is happening daily, right? Really good montage that I saw recently was in the movie Hustle on Netflix. It's the one about the basketball player, and Adam Sandler's in it. It's absolutely incredible. But that was one that was really well done. I thought it was great because it shows there's a discipline that it takes in order to play at the level of the pros that this guy wanted to play. And of course, that was a fictional movie, but you can go back through movie by movie, show by show. There's montages that show that passage of time, right? And usually it revolves around training or preparing for something. Maybe it's like preparing for a job, or maybe it's preparing for a interview or some, legal thing where they're poring over books trying to find the needle in the haystack. And it just shows a passing of time. That's what that montage is there. It's there to show that they got from point A to point B. Maybe it was 1 week. Maybe it was 24 hours. Maybe it was 1 year. But the reason why I wanted to talk about montages today is because in life, we have these mentalities where we see it in movies really well. But do we ever actually realize what's taking place? And a couple weeks ago, I tweeted out, life is what happens in the 30-second montage, right? You are living life, whatever your dream is, whatever your pursuit is, whatever your purpose is. You are living a life that is existing, and you're trying to do your best. You're a human being on this rock that's floating in space, which is fascinating to me. And as we all try to find our purpose, what are you chasing after? What is your goal? What is your end goal? What is your dream? What is it? A job? Is it a career? Or is it a profession of some sort? Is it people, a family, whatever it might be? what is that really happening in the moment of right now? What does that look like to you? And wouldn't it be awesome if we could just fast forward and watch a montage really quick of everything happening, and then boom, we get it. Maybe it's you want to, like me, I want to buy a house, but I don't have the funds to do it. But if I had a montage that I could just watch of me just putting aside money for the next 5 years and watching the housing market come down a little bit with percentages where I could get a house, that'd be great. But that's not how life works. You see, life is what happens in the 30-second montage. And my question to you is, what if someone of your dream career came up to you tomorrow and asked you for a 30-second montage of what you've done over the past 4 years to prepare for that job or career or that position or that program? What would be on your montage? What have you done in the last 4 years? Would you have a string of consistent practices to show that you've progressed? Would you have a history of reliability and growth? Would you have areas where you've strengthened and become stronger and better? See, I think it's important to ask yourself what is on your montage, because you are making your montage right now, today. Now, it may be a 2-second clip in that 30-second montage, but today is a part of that montage, and it's so important to see that, right? So fast forward 4 years. Whatever your goal is, fast forward 4 years. You are watching a montage of everything that you are going to do over the next 4 years to get to where you want to be. Let's actually shrink this. So I'm not a huge fan of like 5-year plans, because I've seen life change in 5 months. So let's shrink it down to what's the next 4 months look like for you? And what's the montage that you can set in motion right now, things that you can control that will allow you in 4 months to look back on this 30-second montage of 4 months going by? Is it weight loss? Is it getting healthy? Is it fixing a sleep schedule? Is it just being consistent with working out, or maybe being consistent with reading time, or maybe it's being consistent with friends? Maybe it's being consistent with getting time alone. Some people are extremely, they're just all around people all the time. And that's how I am. I'm an extrovert, but I love my introverted time to sometimes rest, right? So I love being around people, but if I'm around people so much and I never get that rest, that's going to damage me. So what are you able to do, and what are you able to control today? And set that montage in motion. Think about it. Every single day, I'm putting a montage in motion. In fact, I've been doing this over the last few weeks, where every single morning I take a picture of my Apple Watch, and I've been doing it for, I don't even know how long, actually. I think it's been a month, maybe 2 months now. But every morning I wake up, I take a picture of my Apple Watch, and I post it on my Instagram and my Twitter, X. But the point that I have there is I want to create a montage of, I am showing the world that I am who I say I am. I am walking the walk as much as I'm talking the talk. I do not want to fake it till you make it, because the thing I've learned about faking it until you make it is eventually you can't fake it anymore, and you won't make it. There will be a point where, when push comes to shove, you can't actually take the punches in the ring or fake the punches in the ring. And you're going to get hit, and you're going to be knocked out cold. And I've learned that the hard way, where I've taken some hard hits and I've been knocked down just straight out. And there's nothing that you can do. I don't like that terminology of fake it till you make it. It's not beneficial. But I am excited about the montage of evidence that I'm creating in my life, habits that I'm building in my life, to be able to sit here and tell you this is what I'm doing because this is who I am. And I'll show you this is who I am by doing it every single day. Now, I'm not doing it with an agenda to say I'm better than anybody. I'm not doing it with an agenda to say everybody should do what I do. I'm doing it with an agenda that if you've known me, and I'm more than happy to share much about my life with you all over the next episodes, which I guarantee every single episode I'll share a little bit more about who I am and stuff I've done. But if you've known me, this is new. This is something that I am learning that, yes, I can do it. And if I can do it, I guarantee you can do it. Because I was all over the place. And this is a discipline that I'm learning and enjoying and seeing that there are so many benefits around it. So what is your montage? Are you building that on a daily basis? And when you wake up, are you thinking, what am I doing today that I can set on that montage, right? Is today just another day where I exist, or is today that I put in some extra work or overtime or push a little bit harder to get to where I want to be? Maybe it's a day where you're like, I really have extra time today and I'm just going to go headlong into this project and finish it. Maybe it's a day where you're like, I just need a lot of rest. Today is a rest day. I pushed hard all week long and my body just can't take it. I've pushed it to its limit and I need rest. That may be where you're at, which is okay. So the montage is one passing of time that the movies and TV shows use. But there's another one that's subtle, and we don't always think about it when it happens, right? Because movie magic, we sit down, we're like, we know we're going to be sitting here for the next hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours if we're watching movies like Christopher Nolan. But like we know that we're going to be sitting there, and we know that this movie is going to have a passage of time, right? We know it. But there's the easier way to do it where it just fades to black and then it says 4 years later. And then it fades up to from black in a new city or a new character or a new scene, a new actor or actress, and you're like, where did they come from? Oh, they grew up. It was 4 years later, right? And of course, that happens in all of 36 seconds on a TV screen where it just fades to black 4 years later. It's self-explanatory. See, what's crazy is there's a story in the Old Testament where this guy named Joseph, he was this young man who was a slave to this guy named Potiphar. And he actually was like a hard worker, and Potiphar really liked him. And Joseph actually really liked Potiphar and respected him, and they worked really well. Potiphar had a wife that was a little bit sleazy and wanted to sleep with Joseph because he was like this young, attractive man. Joseph was the man of integrity and respected Potiphar and was like, no, that's not going to happen. So Potiphar's wife like corners Joseph and devises a plan where she's going to catch him coming out of the bath. And she does. And she's like, I want you to sleep with me. Joseph is the honest man and says no and tries to get away. And Potiphar's wife is able to latch on and grab his robe. So he just runs off naked. Like, fine, I'm not doing this. I respect Potiphar. So then Potiphar's wife is like, okay, since he won't sleep with me, because rejection makes us do crazy things, she goes a little crazy and she says, Potiphar, Joseph tried to sleep with me. So Potiphar puts Joseph in prison, and Joseph's in prison for 13 years. He's in prison for 13 years. And in the process of that 13 years of being in prison, he somehow gets connected with people who are in Pharaoh's household. And then all of a sudden he gets out of prison and he's the right-hand man of Pharaoh because Pharaoh has some dreams and Joseph is able to interpret them. And it's crazy because 13 years pass by. And we get upset when 13 minutes pass by and they haven't replied yet. So it's this passage of time that we have to kind of be aware of, because there's no telling how much time it's going to take to learn something or develop something, there's a beautiful movie that I absolutely love, and it's got Amanda Peet and Ashton Kutcher in it. It's called A Lot Like Love. And all throughout the movie, there's multiple different scenes where it says 2 years later, 5 years later, 6 years later. I mean, it covers a passage of time that is more than just, oh, it was a couple months. No, it was time frames. Years go by. And they meet, of course, at the beginning, and then there's a little bit of a break, and then 2-3 years go by, and you see the Amanda Peet's with, a guy, and Ashton Kutcher's with a girl, and things they run into each other a couple different times, and then it eventually gets to the point where it's like 8 years after that. So we're talking like a total of 9 years or 10 years or something that the movie goes by before they eventually get together in the end, because it's a movie. But I think it's so beautiful that they use the passage of time to show that life happens. Nothing's going to stop life from happening. If you are waiting to wake up one day and everything just happens, you're going to wait forever. It's time that you wake up with the mentality where you're going to make something happen by putting together evidence that you are who you say you are. And if you want to be somebody, then you have to do what you're saying you want to do, right? Talk is really cheap. And I am learning that, and I have learned in other aspects of my life that talk is really, really cheap. And it's easy to talk a big game. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. Great. What are you actually doing? Show me what you've actually done. And I'm very thankful that, especially over the last few months, I have been able to reflect on my past in multiple different areas that I actually have been doing that, right? We often compare ourselves to others without knowing what others have silently been working on over the last X number of months or years, right? We want to do, or we want to have what somebody else does or have, but we have no idea what they've secretly been doing, waking up early, going to bed late. And they've been putting in that work that we haven't, which just shows why they have it and we don't. See, I think it's important that we build ourselves a montage, and we build ourselves a mentality that every single day we're going to be putting in a new scene of that montage. Because in 4 months, whatever your goal is, it's going to look different. You're going to have evidence that you've been doing it over the last 4 months. In 4 years, if you put in the deposit every single month, every single week, every single day, in the next 4 years, it's going to look different because you've put in the work. And I think that at the end of the day, that really separates those who talk a big talk versus those who walk it. Right? We want to experience it in all aspects of life. So relationships, friendships, career, whatever it might be. We want to be able to back up what we're talking about. So build your montage and start today. Start today. Don't wait. Even if you put in just a little bit of time, 5 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, start today. That's going to do it for this conversation. I really hope that you'll make a beautiful montage. I know you will. If you would like to follow me on socials, I'm on Instagram at Kyle_Vaught. That's V as in Victor, ATT. I'm on Twitter and YouTube, of course. X, if you want to be all, whatever. It's X now. I'm at Kyle Vaught. So KYLE. V as in Victor, ATT. You can follow me there. Of course, the podcast, the audio version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to listen in there while you're driving to work or whatever, or if you want to watch us on YouTube, of course, for all of those on YouTube, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Please share this with friends if you think that they would like it. And I appreciate it. For everybody else, remember to give grace, show love, And as always, stay stellar. Have a good week.